Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the
Good
world.
morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's conversation. I am your co-host, Enolia along with Sara Jane.
Hello, Enolia. Can you hear me? I think we're having a
So it's so
conversation.
nice to have everyone here, and we're excited to be here with you. And I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Okay, because we're both introducing.
Because there was silence, so I decided to spill it.
Can you hear me now?
I think we have a
It
delay.
has been an internet challenging week this week with the internet going in and out, up and down. We can hear, we can't hear, but we're here. We showed up. We're here and we are ready to have that conversation for today's conversation. So we'll say it again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. And we're so happy to be here. Myself, Enolia and Sara Jane. And today's conversation is open to who you are. And that is what our topic will be. So if you've joined us, we want to thank you and we'll get started. So, open to who you are. Sara Jane, why don't you just give us your thoughts?
I think it's for a lot of people, because I've certainly been there, it's been, well, who am I? Because our upbringings, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not going into judgment of anybody's families or anything like that. I'm really not. But parents will always try to keep their children safe. So they will always try and stop them from doing things that could harm them or could potentially harm them, which of course children then push those boundaries. But some children, depending on what has happened, they stop pushing those boundaries because they feel unloved, unwanted, good enough, etc., etc. And so it's very important for us then as we go into adulthood to try and find who we are, not who we've been made, and circumstances have created the being that we are. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I'm sitting here thinking about in my childhood and what I've observed. And so, I think about what shapes us, what really shapes us. And when I look at my past, there were little sayings that impacted us. Children are to be seen and not heard. All right? So, children are to be seen and not heard was like I was denied the right to speak. Even as a child, I needed to be able to voice my opinion. If we had older siblings, it was like, oh, be quiet. You're young. You don't know what you're talking about. This is an adult conversation. And you weren't allowed to speak. And if you think along the characteristics of not being allowed to be seen, heard, not feeling loved or denied the right to love, denied the right to listen, leave the room. This is an adult conversation. You can't hear it. Leave the room. You're too young for this. Those aspects shape us as adults. And so if you find yourself that person that's shy, you don't really want to talk in front of a crowd, is it because you were denied the right to speak when you were younger, so now you don't feel comfortable speaking as an adult or interjecting or holding your ground? And the same way goes for some of the other aspects. To be seen, like, are you one of those people that fades in the background in a group? And you're always listening, and it's because you've always kind of faded in the background in your family system or your family dynamics, or you didn't feel loved. You needed that hug just when you needed that moment of affection, and so you don't share or give that moment of affection when it's needed because that's how you were treated and that's the only way you know. So all these things shape us. They shape our belief systems. They shape how we see life. And they have a significant impact. And they bring out emotions within us. Sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we get, out and out, upset or shy or, whatever that case may be, disconnected. And all of these things play a role. So I've gone on and on and on. I'm going to pass it over to you just to let you share your thoughts.
That's right, and I will take it back. But what I'm going to say to you, have you got something on a wrist?
Yes, I do.
Because you
yes,
keep,
I do.
And we keep hearing it.
Okay. I will take it off.
No, I don't take it off. But obviously, if the more you're moving around. So no,
Okay.
beautiful. But so I apologise, but it's obviously helping people to hear everything. No, and I really do get this. There was a thought that came to me sort of a few months back. So, or correction, it was last year, because we're now obviously 2021. But it was during sort of walk last year, and I was thinking about, why did I feel that way? What went on? And it was what I referred to as my wake-up call, and I ended up the dentist broke my jaw extracting a wisdom tooth. I didn't know it was broken for a week, and so I ended up, and it was a 2-hour operation to put it back, and it was 6 months of pain and sleepless nights, and it was a real wake-up call, because I hadn't got the energy to continue being a people pleaser because of my insecurities. But what I remember feeling, and I was able to put a name and a sensation to the feelings, was I wasn't feeling heard. Because my husband at the time, yes, he picked me up from the hospital after the operation, the day after, because I'd ended up being an overnight. And he made me a bowl of soup, which was probably homemade soup I'd made anyway prior to that. And then the following day, it was, right, you're fine, now you can get back on with just looking after me and going back to work or whatever. And because nothing was visible, because there was no bruising, I might have been a tiny bit swollen, but not that you'd have registered there was anything really wrong. Obviously, if I smiled too much, you could see the wires that they'd put in just in case they needed to clamp my mouth shut, which he'd have probably appreciated. And that would have even added to the feeling of not being heard if that had been the case. But it was that sense of going back then to the childhood when I'd been hospitalised as a baby and crying for my mother and being ignored because she wasn't allowed to visit. Not that she didn't want to be there, she wasn't allowed to visit. And so it took me back to that not feeling heard. And when you don't feel heard, your insecurities really do become quite strong, because you have no confidence in you and the fact that actually all of that is other people's stuff. And if you don't tell them, oi, I'm actually struggling here, and if they choose not to listen, then that's fine, you deal with that. But if you're not strong enough to turn around and say that, oi, because you're not strong enough and confident enough in yourself. And it's hardly surprising that within all of that, then that marriage broke down.
Yes.
But that was part of the step of taking my life back. And then I got made redundant. The company got taken over and we were all going to get made redundant. Brilliant. Everything seemed to be totally falling to pieces. But somehow, in all of that, I felt a positivity and a confidence. I haven't even started this journey, but that was the start of this journey. Because perhaps when everything's falling apart, it is actually falling together. And that is the start. For me, that was the start of finding me.
Yes. And that is so, so important. And I think that I'm sitting here listening to your story. And so, would you say that there was a turning point in your life where you realized you are worthy?
I think the funny part about it was the turning point came when it was just like, why am I worrying about what other people are thinking about me when they're not? Because they're too busy either worrying about what I'm thinking about them when I'm not, or actually more to the point is what's going on in their own lives.
Right.
So why the heck am I worrying about? So it wasn't a matter of being aware of my own importance, of the fact that I'm special just like everybody else. And that's what I say to people now. You know, everyone is special in their own unique way, and no one is more or less special than anybody else. But if you'd have said that to me around that time, I'd have still struggled with it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have no problems with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to bring out, because when you feel that your voice isn't heard, when you feel that you haven't been seen as an individual, when you feel like you don't get enough love, when these feelings come up, you have to see that you are worthy of that, regardless of whether it's coming to you or not, and that you are worthy to be heard. You know, and that your voice is important, and that you are worthy to be seen, and that your presence means a lot to people when it is there, you know, that you deserve love, that all of the things that you look and you go, oh, I shouldn't say anything. Nobody really wants to hear what I have to say, or I shouldn't listen to this because I don't know if, you know, I should be even here hearing this, you know, maybe I'm not important enough to hear this. We got to get out of that. We got to get out of that completely. There is circumstances in life that will challenge you. And I just remember working in corporate, and, you know, most of my peers were men. And knowing that I couldn't even get a word in, as if what I had to say wasn't important enough to be heard, or for them to be considerate enough to hear me. And then having to find my way so that my voice could be heard without looking like I'm being a bully, to push my way through, you know. And when someone qualified and said, hey, you know, we haven't heard from you, what do you have to say? Then, you know, learning that I can go back and say what might have been said already, and say what I have to say at the time. And then learning certain cues that like I had to learn how to hold my hand up, which means stop speaking. I haven't finished yet. Or just 1 minute. Let me finish. You know, all of those cues where interjections come in and then they take over, or conversations, you know, commiserate, but then they take over, and then you never even finish being heard, and also finish being heard. Completing what you have to say in its entirety is also very important. And for me, that in and of itself was a huge thing. I came from a family when we all talked, and we had a show on this where one's talking over the other, and you don't feel like you're being heard because the conversations are going on top of each other also. So unless you shout your point, you're not even being heard. So we come from all of these different backgrounds and systems and environments that impact us so tremendously for every step that we take and every interjection that we make. And then also how we see ourselves. Important enough to make the statement.
Absolutely. Your bracelet obviously wasn't what was making the noise, because it's still happening. So I have no idea what it is.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the earphones and let's.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I can speak. I can hear you. Excellent. Can you hear me?
Barely, but it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. I can work with it.
I think there is another way of looking at it, because I was afraid to do anything for what other people thought about me or thought about what I was doing, and that I was going to be criticized for it. And so when I did leave that marriage, I was the one who broke it up. My mother's reaction was, but look at what you've got. And it was like all material stuff. Yes, we all but owned the house. We owned everything in it. We had 4 holidays a year. We had cars each. But I wasn't happy. I was so unhappy in my life. And it was just like, no, it is time for me to start doing what I'd like to do. One of the first things I did, having moved out, and that sorted itself out. Once I had the courage to say, sorry, this isn't working for me. The marriage is over. You obviously don't love me. And he turned around and said he did, but it was too late. It was way too late, because his comment was, I have everything I ever wanted, and that includes you. But that suggested I was a chattel, I was a belonging rather than a human being. And so that didn't make me feel good. That didn't do anything to help me at all. And so don't get me wrong, I felt for him. I really did. And so one of the first things I did was I made inquiries and signed up, having seen about the UK Wolf Conservation Trust. And you could, as a member, you could go for a walk with the wolves. And there was a project that they were advertising to Romania to track wolves and lynx in the Carpathian Mountains with the Carpathian Large Carnivore Project. So this was not to kill, this is scientific. So I would never have anything to do with killing with animals. I really wouldn't. And I signed up for this 2-week project to Romania 20 years ago next month.
Wow.
20 years ago, with a whole group of people I didn't know.
Wow.
I had the courage to do that. It's finding that, and it didn't matter what other people said. And when I abseiled off the water tower, my mother's reaction was, oh, you can't go doing things like that. Yes, I can. It doesn't matter what other people's fears are. What feels right to you?
You are so right. And when I think about this in my own life, we come up as young people and we make major life decisions as young people. When 18, 19, 20, define what you're going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to be in your life. And, I wanted to have big aspirations because my parents had big aspirations for me. And, following suit for those big aspirations, I did what I thought it was what I wanted, and I went into corporate. I went for information technology, and, I have my degree in mathematics, and I'm studying the math, and I'm going to, this huge, big person that, I anticipated, this is where the career is going to take me, and this is where I'm going to follow. And then when I got through the career, I wasn't doing what I loved. What is it that you love? And I'm going to make it akin to, like, if you love fishing, then you should be a fisherman. If you love, I don't know, singing, then you should be a singer. And I realized when I was going through the whole corporate piece that I have a strong side on the arts as much as I do on the sciences. Maybe I'm an anomaly. That the sciences and the arts were just as important to me than just doing one or the other, and that there was something missing. So when I started stepping back, what do I love? What do I love? What do I love? And how can I shape that to be a part of my life all the time, even if I have to create a job or create a career, and I'm working at it, because at least I'm doing what I want to do that fills my heart and that really, really fills me and fills me inside and out. So that in and of itself was something that I had to really take a deep look at. And I wonder how many people do that. And especially when the time that it hit me most was when I was in like my 40s.
Oh, have you frozen on
And
us?
so find me.
You're back.
And then here I was embarking on, let's face it, the other portion of my life. And is this what I wanted to define me for the rest of my life? And it wasn't. It was not. It was important for me to go after the art, to go after the conversation, the integration of working with people, the embracing of cultural and indigenous in that observant way. All of these pieces come together and are the makeup of you, and to deny that is to deny a part of yourself. At least it was for me.
You were breaking up something horrible through that, so hopefully people got the gist of that. So yeah, because the signals are really fluctuating, something horrible. So hopefully folks.
Okay.
So was there a specific...
Let's try it again with this. We have thunder and lightning going on here. And so it's, yeah, we do the best that we can. I hope I don't end up creating another sound. But I don't know what's worse, is not hearing me or...
Well, yeah, but it was the video and everything. Nothing was in sync and whatever. So sort of, I'd say it's to do with the signal. But was there a specific point, as with me, there became a specific point where I just sort of suddenly thought, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. You know, I'd gone through the 6 months of pain and sleepless nights. I'd gone through the fact that actually I was so tired. I couldn't be the people pleaser anymore. I couldn't run the house full time. I didn't have kids. I just had a husband to look after. But a husband who we were both, I was working on the road. I was an area manager for a lighting company. And I would come home to find him sat in a chair watching soap operas. And you think about women doing the soap opera thing, but no, men do it as well, because he definitely did. And it started to do with the meal. And I just had a long day and I still had to come home and do all of that. There seemed to be no both working together at it. And it was just like, I can't do this. I'm also studying accounting. So people pleaser, studying accounting, running a home and working full time. It's just like, do you know what? I can't do this. I cannot do this anymore. Something had to give. The accounting, the studying gave, and eventually so did the marriage. But so was there a defining point for you? Because some people, wake-up call is what I referred to it. But for a lot of people, there is a defining point at which it becomes something's got to give, something's got to change. Have we lost you again, Enolia? It looks like we have. Oh, bless. You've frozen them. Yes. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay, we'll ask Enolia the question when she comes back in, because I hope she will join us again very quickly. Fingers crossed. So think about, for me, I would suggest, think about your own lives. What is going on in your life? What has gone on in your life? Are you comfortable? When I say comfortable in your life, I'm not talking about in your comfort zone without any challenges. It's, I suppose, loving your life and experiencing the challenges, allowing the creativity. Think about what's going on in your life. Are you giving yourself the freedom to be you, do the things you enjoy doing? Hello. Can you hear me? Because I can see your eyes moving just about. Enolia.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Hello. Yes, I can. It took me out for a moment.
Good. So I don't know
Yes,
whether you heard the
I'm here.
question.
I'm
Did,
here
did you
now.
did you hear the question I asked you?
I
Okay.
didn't.
Was there a
No.
defining point for you?
There were a few defining points in my life. I remember being in corporate, having a defining moment when I realized that I did not like what I saw in the mirror. I did not like where I was trying to fulfill so many other people's perceptions of me that I had lost sight of who I was. And at that moment, it was like, how did I get here? Who am I? What the hell is going on? And why don't I like what I see? And it was also at that point that I made my mind up about a couple of things. One is that the truth would always be what I shared, no matter how I felt the risk or the circumstance was. The other part of that was that I was going to allow that artistic side of me to come in where I had been denying it. And the other part of me was that I didn't care how or what was the impact to my career, that I was going to operate where when I looked in the mirror, I loved what I see. And that was a real, real defining moment for me, because to operate like that is to operate in misery. And, you know, many people will not admit this, but I know that there are many people in corporate who do not like what they see, that they're doing things that don't feel like their truth, and that they are doing it because they are either in fear of losing their jobs or because they've been asked and feel that they are at risk if they don't fulfill what they've been asked, even though it does not resonate with them, doesn't feel good for them. Or that they feel trapped in a corner and they have to fulfill meeting family responsibility and bills, so therefore they can't question anything because it could put into question their security. And really, there has to come a time when you realize, and this is what happened for me, is that I don't care what the risk is. This is what I would call the soul's calling. When your ego goes against what your soul is calling for, then you are denying who you are. We are aligned with our soul's calling because it's the right thing to do, not just in the situation, but in life. It's alignment to what's sacred. It's following your guidance, and your inner guidance is God. And it's like, for example, if you have an argument with someone and you finish that argument and you're like, this isn't right, I gotta heal this, I really have to heal this, your soul is calling for you to heal that situation. Now, your job or other circumstances or your ego might say, I won't be bothered with that. And you know in your heart that you should resolve it. You're denying your heart. You're denying your soul's calling. You're denying who you are. And so for me, I will never, ever deny my soul's calling. I will not deny what my heart says to do. And I don't care what the circumstance or the risk is. And that was a huge defining lesson and point in my life.
And I think, yeah, I think what you're saying there is that we learnt to go in to ourselves. You know, I referred to the fact that with my ex-husband, we were living parallel lives. Mine was in a parallel of lined with rose thorns. His was lined with rose petals. He was quite comfortable, happy. Thank you very much indeed. But he probably needed his life turning upside down as well as I did, because obviously the changes that have occurred, I hope he's been really happy. I really do. But I couldn't cope with that discomfort anymore.
Yes.
And stepping out of your comfort zone has to become so uncomfortable that you actually want to get out of it. And I did. It wasn't comfortable enough anymore. In fact, it was too uncomfortable. And I did it by listening to me. And it wasn't the mind, the ego that said, hang on, nobody is thinking about you. Nobody's judging you, because they're worrying about themselves and what's going on in their own lives. That wasn't a thought that came from mind and ego. That was a thought that came from heart and soul. It was part of the wake up. And if what we've shared here today helps people to look at their lives, and it doesn't have to be a huge adjustment. It doesn't have to be leave a marriage, a relationship, a job. It's just a matter of, okay, just be truer to yourself.
Yes.
And you may be able to absolutely pull things around and make things so perfect within a relationship. You may be able to actually step into a job with so much courage and confidence that things become so much better. It isn't about necessarily everything falling apart so much as, what would you like? And step into your confidence in yourself and have the courage to be you, and things will work themselves out. We were talking before we started, and I've seen a thing saying if the path is nice and smooth in front of you, you're going in the wrong direction. And I said, no, because when I actually had the courage to leave my marriage, it was the start of being comfortable and confident and true to me. And although it seemed like everything was falling to pieces, actually, it was amazing how beautifully everything panned out in front of me for quite a long time. You know, we all get little hiccups every now. And when we have the hiccups, to me, in our lives, when we have those little challenges, that's maybe when we're on the wrong path. But when it's smooth sailing, that's probably because you're going in the right direction.
You're really saying something so true. And when I look at it akin to my own situation, it was at that defining point when I had those aha moments, and I decided that, no longer would I do X, Y, and Z. What I found is when I was true to myself, people saw a change in me. And they were drawn to me versus me trying to impose myself on others. And I had gotten comments like, wow, something's changed. Wow, what's going on with you? That wasn't your norm, but it's beautiful, And what you'll find is that when you stand in your truth and you're honest and you're in that confidence of knowing that I'm going to go by my heart's desire, what does align, and this is what resonates, and this is what feels good to me, and this is what I'm going to pursue versus pursuing this other direction that I know doesn't feel good to me, that people want to work with you. People want to find the best way to align with you, and it first falls further into place, and your relationships are dynamic and helpful in assisting, and how you're perceived, you don't have to worry about judgment because you're walking your truth, and so nothing else matters, and those who didn't want to work with you, they're not the right people to work with you in the first place. So it's a beautiful thing to truly step into your own love of self and alignment and soul's calling, and really allow yourself to move forward through life and leave all the stories behind.
Yeah.
The stories that you've conjured up, the stories that other people have conjured up, or the perceptions you believe are out there, let it all go and be true to yourself. You're absolutely right.
And when you do that, you actually give other people to do permission to do exactly the same.
Absolutely.
And it is, what is it? Is it be yourself, everybody else is taken? Stop, stop trying to be what you think others want you to be, the way they want you to be, the who they want you to be. Because even if you've got people like that in your life that are telling you, no, that's not how to be, but that's feeling to you wrong, then I'm really sorry. That might feel right for you, but that's not right for me.
Exactly.
If being so bright and cheerful instead of dull and miserable doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for me. Being, put some color into your life. Allow your creativity, whatever that may be. And if you want to go to work wearing red and orange, which really shouldn't be put together, but hey ho, do it.
I love it. And put a smile on your face even when people are miserable. You know, you don't have to commiserate by being miserable with the individual or group that you're with. You don't have to commiserate when people are talking badly about others and it doesn't make you feel good. You know, walk away, let it go, you know, get it out of your life, surround yourself with like minded people. You know, stop engaging in those relationships that bring you down. Stop engaging in those relationships that don't bring you joy, peace in your heart. Stop engaging in activities that don't bring you peace and joy in your life. You know, yes, we live in a tumultuous world, but does that mean you have to align with everything that makes you miserable? No. No, we have one life to live, and if you live it in a way that does not bring you joy, then you're losing time and you're losing energy. It takes a lot of energy to stay unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's about. It's not.
To be unhappy takes a lot of energy. To be happy actually energizes you.
It does. It does.
So all we can say, folks, is we know what it's like to be there in that place of not knowing who we are. There are many, many, many people who actually have that experience of knowing what it's like to not know who you are, to feel very uncomfortable in life, feel unwanted, unloved, not good enough. And there are a lot of us who have actually found our own way.
Yes.
What worked for me may support others, but what worked for Enolia is different. What works for each one of us. Feel free to reach out to myself, to Enolia, to somebody else that you've heard speak. If that resonates with you, whoever resonates with you, to support you to be you, the most beautiful being, because you are.
Honor yourself. You deserve it. Love self. You deserve it. Be yourself. We need it.
Yeah.
You are so important in every regard. So I say it again, or I reiterate it again. You are so beautiful. You are a beautiful being. We need you. We need your smiles. We need your voice. We need to see you.
And it's really important to realize and to understand that loving yourself is where to start. If you can't start with the love, at least start with the liking. Doing the things that make you feel comfortable, that make you feel happy. Don't get me wrong, I am not suggesting that anybody goes out and deliberately does anything to hurt anybody else. But you can say no to others. It's important to say yes to yourself. And if you can include others in that yes, great. Be true to you. All I would say is, every time you say yes when you mean no, you are holding two people back. You are holding yourself back, and you are holding the individual you've said yes to back. When you learn to say no to things that do not resonate with you, you are actually offering empowerment to the other individual as well as empowerment to yourself. It's what many call tough love.
You're absolutely right. And on that note, if there's anyone who has any questions out there that wants to share or would like to say anything to us while we're on the air, we'd be happy to answer any questions at all. Please feel free, and we'll just keep an eye out just for a moment in our chat. But again, loving self should be first and foremost, because when you love yourself, you vibrate that joy, you emanate that beauty, and you show others just what beauty is. And then what happens is that it's infectious. They want to share in a part of that. They want to partake in a part of that. They're drawn to you because they want to feel like you feel. So loving self is so imperative and so important.
The energy you show to the world draws the right people to you. And if you're showing the wrong energy, then you're definitely going to draw the wrong energy to you, the wrong people to you. It's the energy you give out that draws the people to you. You wish to draw different types of people to you. What energy are you giving out? If you are seeking love, seek it within you first. And love will find you.
Yes, it will.
If you're seeking happiness, the same. Whatever you are seeking, seek for it within, and it will find you without.
Thank you for those beautiful words. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you that we are able to share from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if what I've said hasn't necessarily resonated, hopefully what you've said has resonated. And even if what we've both said hasn't particularly resonated, it doesn't matter, because if it's given you food for thought and supports you to listen to others to find what does resonate with you, that's what is important. That's why we do these.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I will put our contact information under the video. So please do check out, if you want to contact either myself or Enolia, please do. The contact information is there. It's also on the website on the today's conversation page. There's about us. So there's contact, and the guests we've had on so far, all their information is up there as well. So please do go and check that out. Do go and check back on our previous recordings, our shows. because it's on Gift of Healing TV giftofhealingtv.com/today's conversation. And I think it's probably today's conversation. Go to the Gift of Healing TV website and you will find today's conversation in the top bar. So, and enjoy. And what we've got coming up as well, because on the 20th of January, we are going to be, that's a Wednesday, we're actually going to be in the morning in the UK and with yourself in Namibia, because our guests are in Australia and in New Zealand.
Yes,
and
they are.
we are going to be talking about light language. We are going to open, well, to me, it's not a can of worms. It's a can of beauty and love, and
Yes.
but we're going to share our experiences with light language and hope that it will help people to become comfortable.
Yes, it's so important. Absolutely. And we're going to have two very, very special guests that will also bring in their perspectives in defining how light language has impacted their lives and has changed their lives, and how their gifts came forward, as well as between Sarah and myself, who also speak light language. So, again, it's going to be proven to be a very, very powerful show. We're excited to have our two special guests. And we're excited to bring this show to you and have this conversation. And, and, a lot of people may mistake light language as speaking in tongues, but it's not. And so you'll hear a little bit of our definitions and our thoughts on that also. So you got to join us.
And thank you for joining. Thank you for watching, whether live or the recording. Thank you for joining us. I hope that what we've shared has supported you, because that's all we ask, is that it supports people. And we will see you again.
Yes.
You will join us again. We've got more programs coming up hopefully at least over the next year, I would have thought. We're not planning on bringing them to an end at the moment. Enolia, thank you. Love, peace and light to you all. Take care, folks. Namaste. Bye.
Aho.